that.
Oh boy.
My draft number was 88 in 1969. I got the message.
Hello.
It was go to Canada or find other options. So I went and I talked to all of the branches of the service.
Right.
And the Air Force offered me the best opportunity. They said,
I always thought you were a smart guy.
if you were willing to fly, and we'll send you through officer training school if you pass the test and all of that. So they tested me and they said, well, you actually qualified highest, 100% for pilot, but you got 20/40 vision in your left eye.
Yeah.
So we're going to make you a navigator.
Yeah. That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah. So I said, sign me up. And I took a delayed enlistment because I wasn't quite finished with college at that point. I still had a research project going on.
Right.
And
So this was 69.
This was 69.
Wow.
So it actually drug on into 70.
Right.
And my 6-month deferment was up. And it shipped me off.
Wow.
And I actually went through basic training first and then over to OTS.
Wow, you got a double dip.
Yeah, and then my dad, and this is the funny part about all of this, I elected to go to NBT. And my dad was in SAC. We were stationed at Carswell from 1948 to 1953. My dad was an instructor gunner in a B-36.
Wow.
We lived on base. We were the first enlisted family to live in the 2-story Wherry housing out there on
Awesome.
Carswell.
Awesome.
And the funny part about that, my dad says to me, oh, you're going to be in SAC, huh? You're going to get stationed at Carswell and you're going to fly in B-52s. And I said, fat chance of that with all the SAC bases in the world? Lo and behold.
You think he did anything?
No. But to carry the story funny, it's actually funny at the end of this. He says, okay. I said, yeah, whatever. So I get to Carswell. Nobody knows anybody there.
When was that?
This is actually in close to 71. It was actually still 70, but 71 was
Now,
were
the squadrons deployed at that point?
They were.
Okay.
So nobody was on base. So I sat around there for a while till they put a bunch of us together, and 70 people on a KC-135, boom, 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 over Guam. Get off the airplane. Nobody knows anybody. Nobody knows what crew. So they say, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, this is the crew you're on, blah, blah, blah. I get this big, tall, lanky sergeant, or a gunner, master sergeant.
Lisenby?
No. His name was Dave Sherman.
I don't remember.
And he comes up to me and he says, sir, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. He said, do you know a Bob DeVita? I said, I might. Why?
There you go. There's a good SAC answer.
Hedging the answer.
Who wants to know?
Yeah. He said, was he stationed at Carswell in 1953? I said, yes, he was. That's my dad. And he said, he gave me my first check ride as a gunner. I said, and we're on the same crew, and here it's 1972.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
It's all my dad's fault because he said I was going to be in SAC.
Well, he was clairvoyant, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's like the general joke. The base gets a new general and he wants to inspect, but it's raining. He didn't want to get wet. So he gets on the phone, he calls around. The first place he calls is the motor pool. He says, what you got down there, Sarge? He says, well, you got 2 Jeeps, 6 tanks, and 2 long black Cadillacs for those fat-ass generals to ride around. Oh, yeah. He said, what was that last piece? He said, 2 long black Cadillacs for those fat-ass generals to ride. He said, you know who this is? He said, no. He says, this is General Blackwell, the new commanding officer at the base. There's silence on the phone. He says, do you know who this is? I said, no. He says, goodbye, fat ass, and hangs up the phone. People love that joke.
Yeah, it's an old one.
Well, were you on a Carswell crew when you went over there?
Yep. I was assigned to the 20th Bomb Squadron, and then they moved me over to the 9th Bomb Squadron or 7th, whatever it was. And then when I came back, they put me back in the 20th.
Oh, okay.
When I got here was in December of 72. Linebacker.
Yeah.
It had just kicked off, and I was still unqualified in the D model. I'd come out of Castle. So I got to fly. My training sorties were down to Eglin didn't land there, but it was out in the Eglin test range, testing whether or not maneuvering would
Blank out the
degrade
ECM.
the ECM.
Lo and behold,
Yes, it eventually got adopted as part of the maneuvers. So when I qualified,
wow, interesting.
there were no crews in the 20th who needed a navigator. But lo and behold, there was a dequalified crew from Griffiths who needed a navigator. So I got shipped off
To
to
the Griffiths.
Guam,
Oh, to Guam.
where I met up with this crew, and then we ended up going to Utapau and flew out of Utapau
Yeah.
for my 62 combat missions with them.
Yeah.
Qualified for lead on my third mission.
Wow. Awesome.
Got to fly.
On your third mission, you qualified.
Got
That's
to
a smart
fly.
guy.
Got to fly the Loran equipped paved buff.
Yeah.
And then we came back. The bombing halt hit.
Oh, yeah.
Came home for 30 days, and they said, "Winkle, you're going back to Guam." You got me on a crew this time? I said, "Nope, same crew, out of Griffiths." Well, went back to Guam. It was the same crew, except
Right.
a different radar navigator.
Right.
So we sat on Guam for the next 3 months.
During the bombing halt.
And we got to fly 2 training missions in the 3 months that we were there.
Oh my gosh.
Sitting in our dorm room, barracks room,
Yeah.
where the horn go off, so we all kind of watched everybody running. Where are all the white tops? I don't know. There weren't any around. About 20 minutes later, get a phone call. Brown, get your crew and report to the briefing room.
Yeah.
Go to the briefing room. They turn out the lights. They flash up the screens. SAC is in DEFCON 3.
Yeah.
This was the Arab-Israeli war. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Well, this was.
Oh, that was great.
I'm not quite finished with this one.
Something fishy about it.
I'm too busy flapping my jaws.
We got our reunion going here.
Well, all of that was going. They actually brought me back early because my wife had some issues, medical issues. So I came back.
Did you come back before linebacker?
I was actually deployed under linebacker 2,
Yeah.
and then they brought me back home after a few weeks.
So you didn't fly? Did you fly missions?
I did. The only thing I ever did was fly 2 training missions like you. I was back home, and they stuck me in base ops for a while because nobody was there.
Yeah.
We were out late one night, got home very late, went to bed, had too much vibration.
I've heard of that happen from
The
time to
phone
time.
rings. This is a recall. This is not an exercise. Same one. I got out there, drag all my junk with me, go out to the base. The next thing I know, we're over in B-52, fully cock-loaded. I'm in the number 1 aircraft, engines running,
Oh,
and they're
boy.
telling me, if the klaxon goes, this is the real thing. And I'm like, I got
This was
sober real quick.
This was at Carswell?
This was at Carswell.
Oh my gosh.
They could only generate 2 buffs. And, most of them were overseas.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Do we
they-
have everything here?
I think so.
Good. So they, like you, they drag us in to see what the evil plan is and all that. And I'm thinking, oh wow, that's where we're really going if this goes off. But anyway, and that's when they told us that the Russians had launched ICBMs up over towards the dew line, and they turned them at the last minute.
I didn't
and that
hear
was
that.
that was the first time that they ever knew that the Russians could change the trajectory once they were airborne.
Now, did that really happen?
Yes, I can guarantee you.
What year?
That was actually
73?
73.
Yeah.
October 73.
Oh my gosh, they actually launched.
Yes.
Talk about some pucker factor.
Yeah. And
I
that's when
didn't
they
know
found
that.
out that they no longer had fixed trajectory on their ICBMs.
Your friend, our friend, Tom Jones,
Yes.
knew a guy who was a writer for the Smithsonian magazine there in space.
Okay.
And he was doing an article on advanced DEFCONs that the nation had been in. And he asked Tom if he knew anybody that had been in B-52s in 73. And Tom said, yeah, there's this guy, his name is Winkle.
Oh,
Give him
yeah.
a call.
Awesome.
So this guy called me and interviewed me about, the Arab-Israeli conflict. And I told him that I had, been on Guam and that we got called into the briefing room, and I put it rather inelegantly. I said it got so quiet in the briefing room you could hear a fish fart.
Yeah.
He used that quote in the article.
Not many people know that really did happen.
That's the first I'd ever heard that they actually launched.
Yeah, it
Holy
will.
cow.
Well, they didn't launch the 52s or anything,
But I mean,
yeah,
the ICBMs.
Yes.
I bet there were some missile leaders.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Precipitated the Russians doing that. Refresh my memory.
And the only thing I can think about,
Yeah,
I'm
it was
sitting
ready
there as a young navigator, and I'm thinking, 8 minutes after that klaxon goes off, everybody and everything I know is going to get blown to bits.
Yep.
And I'm going to survive, and I'm going to go kill 8 million people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something you got to settle. Yep.
You remember who your radar was?
I really don't.
Russ Ware was it?
No.
That sounds familiar. You remember Mike Canyon?
Yeah, of course. Brickhead?
Brickhead?
Yeah.
Now he was the radar on Tom's crew. Tom was first for Getamy, and then for Wendell. Remember Wendell White?
Yeah.
WW.
WW.
And then
the
finally,
Dixie Dance Team.
yeah, that was my crew. And Ed's met Wendell. And we had a buff reunion back in 03 or 04 before we went to Virginia. We met up down there. It's great. What a character he was.
Yes, it was. What's Wendell doing?
Well, at that time, he was managing a moving company in Benbrook, in Fort Worth. And so I don't know. I lost track of him. I tried to get in touch with him for this, but couldn't find him. But seemed to be doing well. At that reunion, he said that he did some flying for corporations as a corporate pilot for a while. I can just imagine how that went.
Yeah.
You remember who we're talking about?
Yeah.
Can't miss Wendell. Looked just like Dennis Weaver.
I remember that. I remember the problem with him being a corporate pilot was that one of the executives objected to WW Spit Cup on the cockpit deck.
Tom tells a story. As he was co-pilot, that we're flying low level. Of course, all we heard was that Wendell came out of 239s into the left seat of the Buff. So what are you thinking as a crew member? We're going to die, right? 239 was a Saberliner.
Twin engine.
Well, we didn't know that before that he did the Tempelhofer lunch bunch, flying back and forth on the corridor with a belly full of EWs recording signals. Turns out he had golden hands. But he's flying along low level. He's dipping his snuff, lays his tongue down in this stuff, and spits into his empty Coke can and puts the Coke can on the throttle quadrant.
Oh,
And Tom says he was always deathly afraid that thing was going to fall over on him at low level.
Tell the story about the foreman.
Oh, you mean the pickup truck?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we were low level at Red Flag, and Wendell liked to push the envelope, if you remember. I forget how low we were. If we were 100 feet, I'd be surprised. And I was in the IP seat. EW often, we'd go up to the IP seat for safety, just observing, because we couldn't turn on our stuff. So we're flying along super low level at Red Flag, and it's the flat part, it's desert. And, he got helmet mask on, mask is hanging, so he hits his mic and says, "Hey, EW, what's this?" And what is he going to do? So he points out on the horizon, there's a dust cloud with a red dot in front of it. It's a pickup truck. So he gets on the rudder and sets up an intercept, and he says, "Hey, guns, I want you to tell me what you see when we fly over this road that's coming up. So, whoosh, right over this guy. And I'm just, oh my gosh. Gunner comes on, he's laughing so hard he can hardly talk. He says, Wendell, you just drove that boy into the ditch. Turns out it was a range safety truck. Fortunately, we were gone too fast to see who we were.
There was another aircraft commander who came along later who had come from A-10s
Oh man.
right into the left seat.
No way.
And
Oh my
he
gosh.
started flying low level out at red flag. And the co-pilot was so scared that he kept his hands on the yoke to make sure this Yahoo didn't bank and tip a wing.
Yeah, drag a wing.
And after that mission, came to the ops officer and said, I won't fly with this guy anymore.
Oh, wow.
And with, I forget who the squadron commander was. I know who the ops officer was.
Was it 20th?
Yep. And they ended up pulling this guy off a crew. This Yahoo gets promoted to lieutenant colonel. He became the squadron admin officer because nobody wanted this guy anywhere on base. He's an 05 admin officer. He ends up retiring. I ran into him at the BX here 12, 15 years ago. Asked him what he was doing. He was doing a flight school out at Meacham. That was incentive enough for me never to go try to get my pilot
Yeah,
license.
forget that noise.
One of the guys I went to high school with, I didn't think much of him, wore glasses, and in those days, this is 1963 in Richardson, and I caught up with him 50 years later at a reunion, and he was in the Army as an enlisted guy and later became an officer, became a colonel. But he said that, did I tell you the story about the last time I got drunk? I said, no. He said, he was an artillery officer. I said, Sandy, what's this thing around your neck? He said, that's a hearing aid. I said, didn't you have hearing protection? He said, no, you couldn't hear orders. Artillery. So he said, the last time I got drunk was in Vietnam, and after the card game, I walked down the hill to the tent. I crossed this little creek, and I heard a boom. I turned around, and the BX was gone. So I sobered up real quick and
Rocket attack, right?
started running up the hill to safety, and another rocket closed half the distance. He said, I get into the bunker, and there's a colonel standing in the doorway. He said, I flattened his ass. And then I chewed him out. He was an enlisted guy at the time. He said, then I chewed him out for standing in the doorway during a rocket attack. So the next story he tells, he's an officer, an artillery officer, and he's got the table with the coordinates. And there's another guy on the opposite side of the table from him. They lean back in their chairs. Table's gone.
Whoa. Wow. Well, now, so you didn't fly linebacker 2,
I never actually flew other than training missions.
but you flew. Didn't you get some combat over Vietnam? I thought
No.
you did.
No.
Okay. I was trying to remember.
And by the time
Well, that's a good thing.
they took me home, when they flew me home, all they were doing at that point was flying the bomb runs in Cambodia that we never did, quote unquote.
Yep.
Bananas, trees, and monkeys.
Now, did you get shot at when you were over Cambodia at all?
Who knew?
Yeah.
How would you know?
No Sam's.
I mean, there's no
Sam's done that way.
No flak. I mean,
Oh yeah, with an AK, there's no way.
but you're flying at 35,000 feet. They don't even know you're there.
Yeah, right. Until the bombs go
Want
off.
them to know you're there.
Yeah, they didn't have radar warning.
Yeah, there was nothing that far south.
I will tell you, and I don't know to this day whether or not the briefing officer was joking or whether he was serious. But we go into a briefing one day for the mission, and the briefing officer stands up there. He says, "All right, I want you radar navigators to be sure of your aim points. We've been getting some complaints from the embassy at Phnom Penh that the bombs are falling too close and causing cracks in the swimming pool."
Oh my God.
That's important.
Yeah. So at that point, I figured, yeah, we're really serious about stopping the Khmer Rouge.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
Fight with
flying.
both hands behind your back.
Go ahead.
I just said fight with both hands behind your back instead of just one.
Well, you know, being the 46th anniversary of Linebacker 2, the stories about the inane planning, same way, same day, same altitude, same heading, 3 days in a row. Crazy. Until finally, I forget who the one star was on Guam said, we're not doing this anymore.
I got $65 combat pay one day. We flew up to Luang Prabang in Laos. Because you're overseas, you want to see a little of the dangerous stuff, but maybe not too much.
Yeah.
So we staged rescue missions from there because F-105s and other aircraft would come down the Plain of Jars and hit the bad guys, and it would be closer to where we could rescue them. So we get up to 10,000 feet on the way up there, and they lower the tail ramp. And I'm in shirt sleeves.
That's going to be chilly.
And they took my M16 away before we flew up there, so I thought, oh God. We get there, and I had a couple of beers and watched a movie and came back.
And that was in the 53, right, Ed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
53 has a 6-barrel minigun out the left front window and another one on the tail ramp.
They had one out each side.
Well, they didn't use one on the right side because that's where you pick up the pilot that's got shot down.
Right.
It takes 2 helicopters to do a rescue mission. You've got a low bird and a high bird. The low bird may have to hover for 20 minutes. I can't imagine that.
I can't either.
So you got 2 A-1 Sky Raiders that are suppressing the enemy while you do this.
Yeah.
And the pararescueman has to go down to the hook,
No way.
sometimes with a steel vest on, to pick up whoever's there.
My number 3 grandson is in the Army right now. He just sewed on his 3rd stripe.
Awesome.
And they're getting ready to deploy Poland next month.
Okay.
I read last week that the U.S. is considering a permanent base in Poland.
That's probably true. Because after my illustrious careers and all of that, I divorced my first wife and then I remarried a year later. And I was getting ready to retire from cruising. And we happened to walk into Macy's at the Parks Mall over here near Christmas time. And she says, see that sign over there? She says, they're hiring for the holidays. She said, you got all them grandkids and kids from your first marriage and none of them live here. They're killing us at Christmas and Easter and birthdays. She said, why don't you take a part-time job and take advantage of the employee discount? And I said, they're not going to hire me. I haven't worked retail since I was in college in 1968. And she says, just fill out the application. I said, okay, I'll humor you, I'll do it. Well, they hired me. And so, as a seasonal, after the seasonal was over.
Oh, you were a radar nav. Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. And an engineer. And, and the geology worked right into that.
Yeah, perfect.
So they asked me to stay on part-time. And I said, okay, why not? I'm going to retire later in the year anyway. And they stuck me in the home store department over there part-time. I said, I'm going to need something to do. She said, yeah, I want you to get out of the house because I don't want you here permanently anyway. So, lo and behold, the Crucible declares bankruptcy, or they get ready to. So I get quote-unquote laid off. So I take my pension, my 401k, my Social Security, all that, and I said, I'll see you later. And I worked for Macy's for 10 years.
Wow, really?
Until this past February. It was actually the last 5 was in furniture department. part-time. Well, they had 2 part-time employees in furniture, part-time, 2 full-time.
Wow.
Macy says, well, we're going to eliminate the part-time people. And I said, well, I don't want to work full-time. So they gave me a nice severance pay, and I said,
Awesome.
see you later.
Awesome.
So anyway, I've been enjoying retirement, doing a little bit of travel, seeing the kids and whatnot, various things. I walked into Macy's about a month ago, and they said, "Why don't you fill out an application and come back for the holidays? We need you."
See, it's nice to be needed, but
Yeah, I agreed to it after I got coerced into it by several people. So I now with Macy's for another couple months anyway. But I had a young couple come in the other day, and she was with her mother, and she had 2 kids with her. And we got to talk, and she asked if there was a military discount. I said, yes, there is. I said, but there is a stipulation with it. You have to, your permanent duty station has to be more than 50 miles from the store. A lot of people don't know that about Macy's. And she said, oh yeah, we're stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas. That's where my grandson's at right now.
wow.
I said, really? What's he do? Well, he's a mechanic, and they're getting ready to deploy to Europe. I said, to Poland? She said, yes. I said, but my grandson's a tank driver there right now.
Small world.
Yeah,
Bruce was a radar on my first crew. Goose Gedemy was my pilot.
yeah.
Remember Goose? And Goose was, well, he and I didn't quite see eye to eye. I was a know-nothing butter bar EW, so all those phrases equal zero.
Right.
And then there was me, which was a 4-throw. But we had a navigator on it. Mike Schaff was our co-pilot.
Rings a bell.
Bruce, Ron Mercer was the nav.
Poor Ron.
You remember Ron Mercer? Never did anything too fast. Well, the story that I'll never forget is we were on ORI. Remember Colonel Wink? Wink was the DO.
Yeah.
He was in the IPC and had, I think it was Gedemy and Schaff and you and Ron and me, and I forget the gunner, I'm sorry.
That had to have been Bob Powell.
Bob Powell, probably. And we were, well, surprised, we were lost. Low level over Kansas.
This is one where they gave us the crud airplanes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing was working. The radar goes out, and we're on the bomb run.
right. They're looking
dropped
for
the first
visuals. You know, Goose is calling, hey, Co, you got anything? No, you got anything? No. So finally, Goose calls down to Ron. He says, Ron, or Nav, how's it looking? There's this pregnant pause on the intercom, and suddenly Ron says, doesn't look too good. Yes, thank you. And I thought I was going to die laughing. Because that was quintessential Ron Mercer.
Oh yeah.
And of course, you know, we got DO on board.
Yeah.
We're lost. And then he comes on with that. I was reminding Bruce about this when we connected. I didn't realize that the whole nav system was gone to pot.
We dropped the first one electronically. The next 3 were done strictly on DR and timing and visual. Mike Schaff actually got the second one in. He's the one that spotted the map.
He was a co-pilot.
Yeah.
So what that means is stopwatch, heading. Looks like we're there. Hit the button.
I worked on the
We got all 4 of them in.
And that's what's incredible right there.
my first
I think
ORI.
we should have been the blue ribbon crew for that one.
Should have been. My first ORI after he came back from Greece. You know, going into low level, bomb nav system goes, boop. Nav, you got it. I jump out of my seat and go back and do quick magic, restart.
Yeah.
Get back in my seat. Right here. I look for some return out there that I can update the system on. Ended up with the second best bombs in the wing. Best bombs in the squadron.
Golden hands.
I tell you.
Well, Ryan and I were together for quite a while. We went through a couple of crew commanders together. And in fact, we had one where we got a no-notice check ride.
Oh,
by
so much
8th
fun.
Air Force.
Oh, 8th Air Force, CEG.
And when we were done, they made us go through the whole routine. He said, pretend that you lost everything and you're going to pull the handles and all that. And we did all of that. And as it turned out, Ron grabbed the wrong handle for the release. And so we quote unquote flunked. But then when we got back, they said, wait a minute now. The 20th went to bat course and they said, if you follow the electronic schematics, it wouldn't have mattered. You had 4 weapons of equal magnitude.
Right.
It's not going to matter which one you drop on which target.
Hello?
So technically you are, well, on a technicality, we quote unquote flunked. Well, Blaze went berserk. I don't know if you read
The Wethead.
Blaze. I mean, he was just, wow. I mean,
He might have
blew
been
up.
right. I came in with Beasley.
Well, Blaze was the wing commander,
Laser wing.
Oh, okay.
and he was a hothead.
Not yes, he was.
Great name for a wing commander.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't know whether through that. But later on in the write-up, after they said, 8th Air Force says, this is the best damn team in SAC. After they flunked me.
You guys were good. There's no doubt about it.
But poor
You guys
Ron,
were good.
poor Ron, I'd get down there, and we'd get low level. And I always peel back the skin of the aircraft over here to my left. And I put a couple of Cokes in there.
Right.
As long as I didn't forget about them, if they
Right.
would freeze.
At least they weren't milk.
Yeah, or Coke, Cokes explode if they freeze. And we're bopping along the Hunter or wherever, and bouncing all around.
Oh, yeah.
And Ron's over there, and Ron is the most meticulous navigator you've ever seen in your life. I mean, he draws all the little circles, the triangles, he puts the wind speed, the air speed, the ground speed,
That sounds like
everything.
Ron.
And I mean, you might as well have had a Leroy Lettering kit down there to do these things. And so I'm over there and I'm watching the radar. I peel back this, I grab a Coke out, I grab a sandwich, and I'm starting to eat, and Ron looks over at me and he sees me eating and drinking while we're going like this, and the next thing I know, he's gone.
Did y'all have inertial or Doppler or both?
No.
We had Doppler.
Doppler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what ground speed. Yeah.
This is the old D model,
But
man.
it wasn't the Canadian Marconi Doppler, was it? Okay.
The only interface I had with it was a little readout.
Now, the last year that I was in, we were one of the test crews for that SPINS navigation system, and I
yeah.
never knew what happened with that.
Well, I always thought it was hilarious that, we were the D models and the oldest airplanes in the fleet, and they put the digital bomb nav system in it. And sent, we were the depot to head out to Guam to trade off airplanes. And, I think we had at least one bomb comp where we blew everybody else away because of that digital bomb nav system. And then they retired us. Then they retired the D model.
I never got to fly with
Rock
that.
Rosak?
I'm sorry?
Did you know Rock Rosak?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Rock was the navigator on DBNS workup with Ed Moss.
Oh, yeah. I remember Ed Moss, too.
Yeah.
Old head.
Yes.
Lieutenant Colonel in the left seat downstairs.
Yeah.
Rock, I don't know if you remember, Rock was also on the engineering team that designed the cruise missile jet engine.
Yeah. Rock retired as an 06. He was professor of aerospace science at Virginia Tech,
Perfect.
where he graduated.
Perfect for him.
And he stayed on with Virginia Tech.
Smart guy. We've got, I'm a docent at the Air and Space Museum, and every time we go by and see that, I say, I know a guy that kind of worked on that.
Yeah, Rock and I go back all the way to nav school.
Is that right?
Yep.
And you
and
guys are in
Patty.
T-29s, right?
Yep.
He and Patty. They used to live just down the street from us.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'd go into squadron together. Sometimes.
Well, there are 3D models on permanent public display that I got to take.
Okay.
One at Orlando,
All right.
one at
Keep going.
Duxford, England.
Oh, really?
Royal Air Force Museum.
You flew that one in there.
Flew that one in there. That's the shortest runway B-52 has ever landed on. It was a 4,000-foot runway. Jim Nerger was the pilot, and we stopped in 2,000 feet.
Wow. Standing on the brakes.
Yep. There's a video of that on YouTube. If you're-
You must have been just above stall speed when you touched down.
looked pretty good. But then I went to the command post, got a call. This was in 1985. Got a call. Said, Bull, want you to fly a D model. This thing's been retired for quite a while. I said, yep, you got to pick it up out of Davis Monthan.
And he's still working there. So
I'm done.
So, Nerger, I don't know if you guys knew Jack Poulis.
Yeah,
Jack was the co-pilot.
yeah.
And I was the last B-52D qualified navigator that they could put their hands on.
Wow.
Nerger was qualified D model. Jack was too. So we went out to Davis Monthan. This thing had been in the boneyard for 18 months. We took it up on a check flight just to make sure that all 8 were running. We had weather delay for it. We had to fly VFR because there were no instruments on it except for tacking. We flew from Davis Monthan to Mobile, Alabama with the gear down all the way because that was the configuration we needed when we got there. And Jim said, I am not going to raise the gear in case they don't ever come down again.
Yeah.
But that was the last D model to ever fly. It's now at Battleship Park, Mobile, Alabama.
How long did that take? Roughly. That must have been about 5 hours.
Well, 4 hours maybe.
Wow. What was the limiting airspeed on that? About 300 knots?
Yeah, probably.
If you go too fast, it's not good for the gear.
So, here's our hero. Remember our hero?
Yeah.
Bob Turgidson?
Yep.
Show it to the camera.
Oh, yeah. Our hero. And there's me and Wendell at that reunion. I forgot how tall Wendell was. He's about as tall as me.
Sure is.
And there's me having a good time in a G model at Castle. Did you know Randy Altstock? Does that name ring a bell? He's the IRN,
Okay.
instructor gunner. Or there's Randy. There's the instructor gunner. When I put my papers in, Mooney was the gunner. He said, "Quitter." And this was before that flight. I took that shot. What a great location to be stationed in Marseille. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
2 hours.
I lived in Atwater. It wasn't that bad.
Here's this is our solo. After our solo at
gentlemen, did we
Carswell.
save any room for anybody desserts here today? I do
I'm
have
not fast,
recommend the grilled chocolate cake that comes with the mascarpone ice cream.
Oh man.
No, I can't.
Thank you though.
Thanks.
Any
I'm
more
good.
coffee for anyone?
Oh,
I'm good.
I would like a cup of coffee.
Some water.
Free.
so let's see. Sammy Saliba, Joe Luina.
Whatever happened to Joe?
I don't know. I don't know.
Ramon.
Joe for short. That's what
Yep.
Wendell called him.
Yep.
And then there's me.
Yeah.
And the gunner, I forget his name.
It sure looks familiar.
Joe Rosati
Yep, I remember Joe.
and Greg Thomas. Remember Greg Thomas?
Yeah.
We called him Duff. Duff. I didn't know, but he had partially, one lung partially removed. He got back on flight status.
Wow.
I don't think he was a smoker, but great crew. EW school. There's the one at Orlando. Tom and I have flown that one together. The D model down there. It's when I was a platform instructor at Castle. So let's see, what else we got here? I keep this in my flight bag. Oh, so Tom Jones, my high school best friend Jim Riley. We learned to fly together, and we said, "Hey, let's be astronauts someday. Go to Mars." Haha, sure. Years later, we're both 40. He gets selected.
Really?
So here's Jim putting the airlock on the space station. Here's Tom putting the science module on the space station. And this is as close as I ever got. So potential. Not everyone gets to be an astronaut when they grow up.
Whatever happened to Jim? How did he turn out?
Jim Riley, he's now the head of USGS. The director
Really?
of USGS in Reston.
Wow.
He's coming over. He and his new wife are coming over to the house in a couple of weeks to have a dinner and a movie with us. We do that from time to time. So anyway, I thought you guys would like seeing that.
Interesting.
Are you a member of the association, by the way?
I am.
Are you? Here you go. Free for you.
I think in arrears my.
I'm in
dues, my
arrears too.
$10.
I went in
Thank you, sir.
06, or actually 12 to the 60th
Swim in the water.
or the 10th reunion
They had one this year, but
down in
it was
Barksdale.
about the time Sharon and I were getting married, so
Yeah.
weren't able to.
Priorities, right?
Yeah.
Well, Tommy Towery and I kept in close
Oh,
contact.
Tommy Towery. What a
Tommy,
great guy.
you know, he's up in Memphis, and he keeps bugging me, come see me, come see me. And I keep saying, yeah, I will, well, I haven't made it yet.
So I think I sent you guys a picture when I saw Ed's outfit patch on his Aussie hat. I said, I got to have that patch for obvious reasons. But you know, all this stuff. I got to be a aircraft marshaller at Oshkosh year before last, and all the other stuff.
Didn't you love that, all the noise?
All the what? Oh no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but I decided once was enough.
Yeah, Tommy came through Athens when I was there on
Oh,
RC.
Yeah.
So I got to see him a couple
Yeah,
of times.
Tommy went
Golden
back-
Richards. Remember Golden?
Yeah.
I remember that name.
Golden came through a couple of times too.
Yeah, Tommy went on and got his master's degree after he retired. And he's written 6 books. We Were Crew Dogs.
Right.
I contributed to 2 of them.
Yeah.
It's an anthology now.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been
an
all brought
yeah.
together.
Gentlemen, this is one chapter separate.
Can we do
Separate, please.
Yeah,
But, you know, I've kept in contact with him off and on.
yeah.
Well, every now and then I email back and forth with Rock or something I see on the screen. But so many of them have lost contact over the years.
Yeah. So many guys. Well, Tom's a gunner, Mike Sullivan. Remember Sully?
I remember Sully.
How did that guy ever fit in the tail? I never knew.
I think he put it on.
Well, he was in a terrible accident as a construction guy, probably 10 years ago now, and is paralyzed. Paraplegic, can barely move his hands. Lives with a wonderful woman down near Lynchburg, Virginia, and we've gone down there to see him. Me and Brickhead, Dave Browning, and
Dave.
and Tom. We meet up down there a couple of times to have a reunion with him. He's a fabulous artist. He does work with woodwork and things, and teaches people woodworking, even as a paraplegic. So it's just an amazing story. I'll see if I can find a picture of our last reunion. You'll recognize Brickhead right away. And if you remember Brickhead, he was a little opinionated. Some things never change.
He's still married to Donna?
Oh yeah, yeah. They get up there on reunions. Let's see here.
They were our sponsors when we came back from Greece.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, now here's this a copy of the picture that Sully had. Not a very good copy, but you can see Sully. Of course, he stands head and shoulders. There's Tom.
Tom.
Benny Ubla has passed.
Yeah, I know
sadly.
that.
Really?
Yeah.
Browning, and I think this is Brickhead,
Yeah.
and the gunner. I can't remember. Oh, that might be the EW. Yeah, that's the EW. Which was only. No, there's 6 in that picture. Anyway, so that's an old shot. Let's see here. And I'll show you the reunion shot that we took here a couple of years back.
Benny's ashes are actually interred at Arlington.
Is that right? He was a good guy.
Yes, he
Benny
was.
and Sarah lived just down the street from us
He
there.
was a really
on
good
base.
guy. Pilot. One of the pilots. So let's see here. Oh, remember Dan Meeks? Does that name ring a bell?
The name
Rings a bell.
EW. Ran into him at Oshkosh, 2017. We got together under the nose of the buff that was there. They had an H model there. And that was my first chance to get into a B1. You ever been inside a B1? You thought the buff was small inside? Ooh, man. You know, at least we had a bunk area, right?
Buff was spacious.
Oh my gosh, compared to the B1. B1's crazy. Thank you. Anyway, so that was fun.
Thank you very much.
Did they ever improve the heating and air conditioning system?
Who knows?
And I will collect those anytime you are.
Okay.
The,
I'll get yours too.
Oh, thank you.
The H model was really not much different than the D model as far as heat.
Because I heard they had a broken arrow in England or Thule, Greenland, because of the heat. Something about a pillow or something caught on fire.
Yeah, that was one of the early models I think that happened to. I got to fly the H model after we swapped them out with
Right.
the OAS and the trackball instead of the tracking handle.
What'd you think? Yeah.
You know,
Here's the guys.
Yeah, there's Brickhead.
Yep. Just had the 4 of us that time. You see Sully?
Yeah. I don't think I would have recognized Sully.
Yeah.
It's a great shot.
We're going to put these 2 on this one card.
Thank you, David.
So, what else?
I remember Sully. We played flag football.
Sully's a big guy.
Sully and Dave.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Anyway, the line averaged 220 pounds.
Well,
And
we're big guys.
Benny Ugolo was
Benny's a
our
big guy.
quarterback.
Yes.
He had been third-string quarterback at Texas A&M.
At A&M, that's right.
Is that right?
And he could throw
Dave-
that ball about
Dave-
50 miles an hour.
Dave Moore.
It hurts your hand
I don't know if
when you try to
Dave
catch it.
Moore or not.
Yeah, I
Dave
remember
Moore
Dave,
was
yeah.
the
Dave Moore,
RN.
yeah.
He had been a college wide receiver.
Oh my gosh. So you guys were unbeatable.
And
We were.
And we had a second lieutenant who had played 3 years in the NFL. And he was on the line too. And we went undefeated that year.
I guess. You probably made some guys deniff a few times.
Unfair
They
competitive
stuck me.
advantage.
Guess where they stuck me? Weak side linebacker,
Oh.
right side. All 5'7" of me.
But see, you're good though, because you can get around and get under those
Low
guys.
center of gravity. It helps.
Remember Joe Gaddis?
Yes.
Yes.
Joe's here in town. He just had a birthday here.
The strange thing, this was shot at the Air and Space Museum. I was there on docent duty. His daughter married a young man who, the 2 of them went to the church that I was attending. I was leading a small group in our home. And they came and we started comparing notes. I said, wait a minute, I think I know your dad. And so she says, well, he's coming to visit us. We gotta meet. You know,
Yeah.
I gotta see Joe. Remember, he was real soft-spoken,
Yes.
but a great guy. So that was fun to meet him. Let's see, what else? Oh, there's my office. And it's out of focus intentionally because of
Yeah.
the frequencies.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, and then Home Sweet Home, remember?
Oh yeah.
Good old Alert Shack over here. You know, that Alert Shack is still there.
Yes,
Still
it
there.
is.
They're using it for something now.
Yeah, I forget, but it's still there. They filled in the
Building
swimming pool.
1420 is not there anymore.
Yeah, it's not. I've been out there a few times for the air shows.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And it's kind of disheartening to go out there and see all the
Hospital is
aircraft that are on
a
display
prison,
and there's
yeah.
not a buff anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, the hospital.
My son was born at that hospital.
Yeah. So your son was born in prison.
Yes. Unfortunately, that's where he ended up a couple of times too. That's why I have white hair.
Yeah, right. I know that.
Oh, here you go. We had an exhibit at the Smithsonian downtown, Air and Space downtown, about time and navigation. I had to get a picture of a certain article. The sextant, Ed.
The sextant.
This is the sextant.
Was
The
that
one that
classified?
the EW would, no, not at all. The EW would shoot the sextant for the nav and call down the numbers, you know, the site information for the nav to plot a line of position.
Gentlemen, thank you.
So this, you know, and this part was outside the aircraft. It's like a periscope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you look through this eyepiece and you collimate this thing and you start a 2-minute timer and you keep that star or the sun centered in that thing over that 2 minutes. And then you read the number down and the nav's downstairs has got a book that he looks up that number and ends up with a line of position.
Yeah.
And we all had to learn to do that.
That's probably what they used on the later models of C-141, Star Tracker.
Well, it's probably
Well, the Star Tracker was a different system.
yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
We did have an Astro Tracker on the D's.
Yeah.
I know the drum, the memory drum on the ASN-24 had 59 stars and planets in its permanent memory. And that was really high tech for 1966.
Yes.
The Doppler system I worked on still had tubes. It had a wicked sounding tube named a Fanastron.
Fanastron.
Yeah.
I remember the ASQ-48 bombing navigation system had nothing solid state in it at all. It was all gears and levers.
We used to talk about getting our certain parts of our body under the antenna because it would sterilize you for the weekend, 500 milliwatts of power.
Oh, listen, you could definitely do that kind of damage with what I
Of
had.
course, there was the frozen sheets of overflowed commode stuff that would cover that radome,
Oh, the crap!
and it would
the
make
crapper?
the system inoperative because you can't put 500 milliwatts through frozen liquid.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, that radar system in the B-52, we could sterilize it 200 yards.
I wouldn't
Or
be
set-
surprised.
Or set a fuel dump on fire.
That's right.
Probably shut down the city.
And then there's the transmitters that I had.
Yeah.
That could mess you up too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, I had the
keep talking. I'll look
distinction,
for a couple more.
I guess, of giving a senator a downward seat ejection briefing.
Really?
Only he wasn't a senator at the time, he was a congressman. It was Bill Nelson from Florida. He flew with us on the B-52 that's at Orlando.
Wow.
And he went on to fly as an astronaut.
Wow.
Well, he wasn't at, he was on the space committee in Congress, and because he was a pilot, and I guess he used a little bit of
Well,
arm
yeah,
twisting.
sure.
He actually flew in space before he became a senator.
Wow.
Two quick things about the Manhattan Project, because I was born the month they dropped both bombs, so I've studied this. They're in Trinity site in New Mexico. They're putting the core in the bomb. Never done this before. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. It was the heat. So they waited about 20-30 minutes, and finally it fit, and they could lower it into the bomb. Okay, next short one. They have completed the mission to Nagasaki. And of course there were delays because they had to have visual and all kinds of delays. And they couldn't get the attention of the tower and the other airplanes to land in Okinawa. They shot flares up, nothing. So finally the crewman who shot the flares up says, "What do you want me to do?" They couldn't get him on the radio. He said, "Shoot every cotton-picking flare you've got up." That finally got their attention. They landed. They had 8 gallons of gas.
In boxcar.
Yeah, boxcar.
Have you all been to the Nuclear Museum in the United States in Albuquerque?
Yeah, it's terrific.
I was out there a couple months ago.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ed is a huge fan of everything nuclear, about all the bomb and everything. And so for his 60th birthday, gave him a treat. We went out to the Trinity site. And
It was July 16th.
Okay.
on the 60th
They
anniversary.
don't normally do that.
Yeah.
My,
so that was
my
pretty
late
cool.
uncle worked for Sandia Corporation.
Wow.
And his job was to explore peacetime uses of nuclear weapons. And among the projects that he looked at was building a new Panama Canal using nuclear weapons.
Was there much fallout about that?
What could go wrong?
Yeah, right. You just couldn't use it for 10,000 years after you done
Well,
it.
Sandy Ray, the colonel I told you about in the Army, I guess was working on an artillery shell, and he said they had 4. There's 4 guys that do this when they take it off the front of the shell, and he said suddenly the warhead springs off and falls on the ground and rolls and hits the concrete wall. That's the 3rd time he probably lost one of his lives. But they rewrote the tech order after that to compensate for that. Can you imagine?
Bold
Well,
print, don't drop
Yeah.
the warhead.
Yeah.
Didn't they accidentally drop 2 at Carswell?
One, I don't know if you guys were serving, but there was a time on alert when we had the 8 o'clock brief on alert. You go out to check switches, and they stopped us at the doors. So, they had windows on the doors on the ground level. So we looked out, and the last sortie, the last line of the airplanes, Blivet was on the ground, B-28. It had gone through the doors. Don't know how.
Oh shoot!
Huge broken arrow.
One of those last threads.
Yeah.
I thought you tightened it.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about the safety of that. It's a wonder nothing's happened with all the accidents they've had. But when they dropped the bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Fat Man and Little Boy, there were a number of safety wires that pulled out that were part of the Army mechanism.
Yeah.
And I never knew that till I bought a loose leaf book from Amazon by John Coster Muller. It has some schematics. Of course, big deal.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff.
We used to have a clearance called CNWDI. Critical Nuclear Weapon Design Information. Now you can go out to Google and see the whole thing.
Yeah. We had airplanes on Carswell that we called Crested Dove. Remember?
Yeah.
And the thing, you remember Jerry Whitman, Feet Whitman?
Sure.
You remember the story? Well, horn goes off, and there was places on the base where we could go that were within driving distance to make the timing to get into the airplane and take off. And so they let us go to the BX or the movie or Officers Club.
Bowling alley.
So well, Jerry was out with his crew, and if you're out with a bunch of other mixed crew, guys from other crews, you just go to the nearest truck and you jump in it. Mm-hmm. And when they drive past your airplane, you hit the top and you jump out and get in your airplane. Well, he was a new guy. I think he was second lieutenant. And the Crested Doves were parked just right around the blast fence from the alert ramp, where the alert birds were. So he's running out there in the truck, and he goes by. He was the number one bird, and so he hits the top. They stop, and he jumps out, and he goes running into the Crested Nav, Crested Dove. And so he gets into the airplane. The first clue was there was nobody guarding the airplane. The second clue is all these remove before flight streamers inside the
What's the
airplane.
significance of the Crested Dove?
It was a kind of a hangar queen. They would use them to train the maintenance people.
Got it.
And it just was a bad airplane. It wouldn't fly.
Yep.
So anyway, he gets inside the airplane. He tells the story. It's really quiet. And he sees all the remove before flight stuff. And so by the time he says, "Oh shit, I'm in the wrong airplane." So he gets out. Turns out his airplane was number 8, the end of the row, and it was a cart start.
Yeah.
And so in the number 1 and number 8 engine, they had black powder cartridges to start the engines. They didn't always do it on every exercise, but every now and then. And so all the pilots said they were seeing this nav run down the flight line in front of with all this black powder smoke. So after that, he got the name Crested Nav.
I was at Carswell in the launch truck. This was for aircraft that had 2 hours or less to take off over the Pacific. I'm with the ComNav people. And it's the sugar area where all the hot stuff is.
Yeah.
And there's a K-loader truck out there full of bombs.
Yeah.
Well, it caught on fire. And so you see on the other side of the base, you see the fire trucks coming out. It was a small fire. And they're looking for the K-loader. And we're all dying laughing, thinking we could be dead right now by the time the fire truck gets out there. So the driver just calmly steps out with the fire extinguisher and puts the fire out.
With the closure of Carswell, I've often wondered whatever happened to the weapons storage area out west of the base.
It's still there.
Well, I'm sure.
But for a while they just had general purpose bombs out there. But I think they've shut all that down and sealed it up now.
Yeah.
I heard those storage area are the pits.
Well, really.
I find it ironic that one of the reasons that the BRAC decided to close Carswell was the encroachment of all the flight activity with all the development.
Yeah.
There's more flight activity now than there was when it was an active base.
We were talking about funny things though too. I remember when it was before you were on the crew,
Right.
and we had an early morning klaxon on alert, and Bob Powell, the gunner, comes running out.
Now Bob was a pretty big guy.
Bob was pretty good size.
Yeah, I
not
remember.
Real big, and we're pulling away with the alert truck headed to the aircraft, and Bob leaps towards the truck bed and straddles it and comes right down crotch, just like that. and then as he rolled into there, we had one of the old ones with the wood bed.
Wood bed, yes.
Sliver in the butt. We had to bring the aircraft down so we could take him to the hospital to get the sliver removed.
Insult to injury.
I vaguely remember that.
Well, you know, Ron, going back to Ron, speaking about that fast drive vehicle, Ron, I don't know if you remember, he always had that nasty coffee cup. I swore he never cleaned
It
it.
was attached to his hand.
Yeah, one of those blue and white plastic coffee cups. And so he didn't have a very good stabilization system, if you know what I mean. And so we would put somebody in the back seat next to, new guy on the crew would sit next to Ron in the back seat. And you remember when you're backing out, somebody says, first item on the taxi checklist.
Yeah.
Brakes.
Brakes. Slish. The guy would get coffee all over.
Too bad.
Oh my gosh! But what a great guy. So yeah, flew with Wendell. Wendell was a hoot. You know. Oh, Ed's heard this, so you guys flying with Wendell out at Holbrook through Monument. You know, all the mesas and stuff. Again, I was in the IP seat. And we're doing almost Nap of the Earth, right? Supposed to. So we're on the top of the mesa, and you see the edge coming up there. And he gets that grin on his face with you know, stuff in his teeth from the worm dirt. And he says, "Hey, W, watch this. You know, what are we going to do now?"
Say something anyway.
We get over the edge of this thing, and he crams the yoke all the way into the instrument panel. And I said, "We're dead. We're dead."
Yeah.
Of course, you know, the ground's falling out beneath you, so we get weightless.
Yeah.
It's a parabolic arc. And so dirt and stuff's floating up, right? And he gets on the interphone and he says, "Hold her nose up, Jake, she smells the alfalfa." Because, you know, he had that West Texas accent. Oh, it was hilarious. Talking about when he went over the mesa. What a character he
Don't
was.
know Scott Cox.
Oh, yeah.
Scotty's up in Virginia somewhere.
We said we need to get together. Yeah, he's down near Richmond, I think.
Yeah.
I remember catching him in the butt one time with the flare door thing. I didn't realize how powerful that was. He was bending over doing something. I was coming up the ladder with, remember the flare door? It was like vice grips.
Yeah.
And I caught him on the butt.
I know we flew the very first red flag after everybody got back.
Yeah.
And we got down in low level, and of course we had the F-15 fighter escort
Yeah.
and everything. And Nabs, you can't see nothing anyway because they
Right.
blacked out that window.
You got an altitude hold this
But,
big.
It still had the sextant down there, the
Oh,
Mountain
yeah.
sextant. So the B-29, so the radar nav can see. You can see down, you can see out. And, you know, we got fighter cap above, we got fighter cap below us. And they got an intercept on this F-15 coming right underneath us. We were about 400 feet. And he goes, shoom, just like this. And I could see him. I was like, wow. He wasn't more than 50 feet below us when he went under us. So, wow.
When we went to England in '81, we flew, I think, 3 5-hour. Busy Brewer.
I was on that.
Yep, remember? That was some good duty.
Yes.
But one of the missions, we flew a free ship toward the east-west Germany border. That was before the wall came down in '81. And man, I've never seen my scope so full of radars.
Yeah.
But the fun thing was they had all the NATO guys would come up and do intercepts on us.
Yeah.
And of course, we got so much wind, you know, at high altitude, we didn't turn inside the fighters. And so, you know, do the normal corkscrew thing and then start that maneuver, and the fighters were doing high-speed stalls trying to turn, and the gunner would come on and say, "These guys can't stay with us," you know, trying to do a gun pass. It was hilarious.
That very first one was when Tommy Cowrie made a recording of the Star Wars soundtrack. And when they were trying to jam us, and when we went into Riverside, and then they flew us in a little twin-engine plane over to Las Vegas for a debrief at Nellis.
Oh, nice.
And everybody got a real roar out of that. And they said, then the fighter says, "Well, we made an intercept." And I said, "No, you didn't." And the next thing they showed was a bomb, one of that cement bomb that you dropped.
Right.
And there was Ron Beasley's cigar that I had stolen and taped to the bomb before we left, and it was 50 feet dead center off the runway.
Awesome.
And there was the cigar on there.
That's awesome.
Concrete bomb, huh?
Yeah, concrete.
Well, yeah, you know, he dropped a shape. They call them shapes,
Honeybees passed away here about 3 or 4 years ago.
I saw
Did
that.
he?
Saw that. Yeah. And I know Peyton Cole is retired in the Barksdale area.
Yes. His son is an 05 squadron commander, but not a bomb squadron commander. I think it's maintenance squadron commander.
Yeah. Yeah. Great guy, Peyton Cole.
He's the guy that conducted my retirement ceremony.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What an honor. He was the best of all the squadron commanders I remember. I thought he was the best.
He was a good one. There was a guy a couple before him. In fact, it may be the guy that Peyton replaced, Ken Hageman.
Hageman, yeah, he was good.
Yeah, he retired with 2.
Wow.
Ken was a really good guy.
Well, I think
he'd been an EW and then went to pilot training.
Wow. Seems like I would have known that. Do you remember Steve Mastero? Does that
I
name ring
remember
a bell?
that name. That's
Well, Steve, he was with me at Castle as an instructor, and I'll show you his picture. He went on to do things civilian-wise, and that's Steve right there, Steve Mastero.
Yeah.
He always had the chrome-plated wings. You know, he's one of those guys that had the chrome-plated wings, everything sharp guy. Well, he's up in the Reston area, in the DC area, working up there. We got together with another reunion, and there was a guy. I don't know if you remember Bruce Height. Bruce Height, was he at Carsman?
Remember the name?
He was at EW. Terry Ashman, Howie McFadden. But you might remember Gary Getzman and John Imhoff.
Yeah.
Those two EWs.
Imhoff, I remember.
I worked with them when I was a T4 sim guy over there.
Do you remember Tom Inman
Henley.
from Inman?
Oh, Inman. Yeah.
NBT. Had almost shaved head. He was a major.
I remember him.
Doesn't
He
ring a bell.
became my boss in Athens, Greece.
Wow. Wow.
I can't even remember the instructor's name we had there. All I remember was he's a big, heavy-set guy with a slow Southern drawl. And he and Ron Mercer could easily get along, but I wasn't with Ron at that time.
You fall asleep
I
waiting
was
for the
tag
sentence.
teamed up with a guy named Bill Wheeler.
Okay.
And Bill and I, this was right before they made the mini nav teams. And Bill and I would swap seats every other flight.
Yeah.
And do that. So,
Did you see? I think I sent you guys the link for that Linebacker 2 video.
yeah,
Did you see that? Did you see John Pedalin in there?
I haven't looked at it
He
yet.
was either the 20th or the 9th ops officer. John Pedalin.
Yeah, he was the 9th ops
I
officer.
thought so.
Yeah.
He was the guy that got passed over for refusing the squadron commander job at Dias. Because his son was in high school and was doing well and he didn't want to disturb that.
Yeah.
Remember Asbury was the wing commander? Colonel Asbury?
Yeah.
He said, your career's over. Because you're refusing the squadron commander slot.
Yeah.
And it was a big stink.
Yeah.
I remember
Well,
that.
that was kind of one of the things that really encouraged me to get out as well as all the other stuff was I put in for all these jobs at that time. Yeah, I was the high-time company grade officer on base.
Yeah.
I'd already been there over 7 years, which was unheard of at that time.
Right. Oh, yeah.
That's why I had field grade housing. And I couldn't get away from it. And then I saw people getting these jobs that I put in for. Didn't have the time, didn't have the grade, anything.
Yeah.
I ended up spending 12 and a half of my 20 years in Carson.
12 and a
That
half.
was
Well, total.
unreal.
Between two assignments.
2 assignments. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I came back from Greece, I had 8 years, and I said, no way the Air Force is going to leave me alone for 8 years.
Right.
They did.
Wow. Well, I was there 5.5.
Yeah.
So, it seemed like that's a common story for Carswell.
Yeah.
A lot of guys ended up staying there
Yeah.
for quite a while. And, growing up in Dallas, I went to high school here in Lake Highlands, my wife and I. So growing up in Dallas, you think anything west of here is redneck city.
Yeah, right.
Fort Worth.
It is.
So in EW school,
You think, but it is.
well, so EW school, I wanted to get a weasel to Germany. So what happened? B-52 to Fort Worth.
In Fort Worth.
And my wife and I were just, man. But I tell you what,
See the world.
Fort Worth's such a wonderful town.
Yeah.
We fell in love with the town very shortly
That's
after.
where if you live in Dallas, you go for culture and fun.
Yeah, you figured that out once you get there. But yeah, wonderful town, wonderful place.
I think the most scared I ever was is when I was on Air Police Augmentee duty. It was either New Year's or Christmas, and a flare had gone off at the end of the runway. And they were afraid of sapper attacks in the aircraft. So I was in the back of a truck holding on with one hand. They had this hoop back of the truck, no top. There's the Thai Air Police and then a regular Air Police and driving. We're driving down the runway, doing inactive runway, doing 60. And he's hollering back to me, "Hey Waldrop, I want you to deploy the machine gun." I'm holding on with one hand and stuffing bullets. I thought, oh my God, please. Fortunately, there was nothing there. The second time I was in Da Nang, Vietnam, and 3 o'clock in the morning, the sirens go off and it's a rocket attack. And they don't know where it's going to go. It's just pot luck or bad luck. 30 minutes later, your nerves settle down, you're back in the bunk, here it goes again. And that was as close to death as I got.
That's close enough.
Yeah.
When we left NBT, when it got down to the selections, I wanted McCoy. And Ben Hagan had to pick just before me. He took McCoy, so I ended up taking Carswell because I didn't want anything to do with wordsmith, K.I. Stoller.
Where's absolutely.
McCoy was just outside Orlando, Florida.
Yeah,
That's right.
Beautiful assignment.
shared the runway.
3
with the
months
airport.
later, here comes Ben because they closed McCoy.
Ben lives down at around Lake Granbury,
Really?
what I understand.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And I know, gosh, I haven't seen him. I guess he and Kathy are still married.
Yes. As far as I know.
I'll have to look him up.
Yeah.
I think Eglin was the hottest place I'd ever been temporarily
Eglin?
for some training. And
Yeah.
More than Vietnam?
well, you had these huge pine trees,
Yeah.
no air movement, and you had the high humidity, and it's in the 80s.
Yeah, but they had an officers club on the beach.
Yeah, that's right.
Fort Walton Beach was beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
You could body surf out there. Beautiful.
The one, I was talking to about Jack Imhoff and Gary Getzman, the 2 EWs that I worked with. And Jack was in Spectre in Vietnam before he went into bucks.
Sector detective.
Yeah, that's right. And so he, in the back of that 130, they had the ramp down. And they had a zebra stripe back there that was managing all the guys loading the 40 millimeters and the miniguns and everything in the 105. And then they had one guy that his job was to watch for incoming AAA and SAMs if they got far enough north. In the early models, they just had the ramp down, and then of course the other part went up on the 130. And he's in a parachute harness with a cable attached to the harness. The other end is attached to the airplane, and he's got his headset on and a mic button, and he's looking around, hanging out the ramp, looking for incoming. He says at one time there was this black senior master sergeant that was doing that, and he called Sam. Saw the missile coming up, so to brake left. So he brakes left. He gets thrown out of the airplane, and he's dangling by this cable outside the 130. And so after that, they got away from the SAM, they start reeling him in, and this guy had the presence of mind. He puts his right hand on the ramp, left hand keys the mic, and says, "Permission to come aboard, sir." Can you imagine?
Oh, my.
Man, I don't think they ever would have gotten the flight suit out of my rear end.
No.
Were you on the crew at the time we went out? Maybe not. And it was close to Christmas time, I think it was. And we were over the Pacific, and we were doing that sub-hunter thing.
I never got
Bag and boom,
Yeah.
600 square mile block.
exciting stuff.
And, we got off the coast of North Carolina. And it had to have been Tommy, I guess, at the time. We picked up signals that were not what we were looking for.
Right.
And I could see the ship out there on the radar. It was at about 200 miles. And so we come in closer, and we decide to do this rig maneuver thing.
Maneuver, yeah.
And do the passover. And we get close to about the passover, and of course the pilot says, whatever you do, don't open the bomb doors. Because it came up as a SAM missile and a rocket. And we took, yes. And we took pictures on, of course, when we came back. I think every admiral and every general in the Air Force met us at the runways out here by the time we got back, because they did not know that SAM missile carrier was out there. That was kind of a frightening thing.
Tommy got his attention. Said, "Those are real signals.
Wait, these are Russian signals."
That's an SSN-3.
Yeah, it's a trawler with SAM missiles.
Yeah.
And
So
they
the-
didn't know it was there.
Well, the Russians have this hypersonic missile that can't be stopped, but so what?
Well, that's the SA-5.
So what? We got submarines. So do they.
Well, when you're flight crew, though, you see that signal come up,
Yeah.
and your voice hits a high PRF.
There are no sort of winners in the nuclear war.
No.
But it took us a long time to get back to Carswell, because at that time we got into a headwind.
Oh yeah, you're going west.
Yeah, we're going west, and we were up in the jet stream with about 240 mile an hour winds, and we're going at ground speed about 65 miles an hour.
You might as well put the gear down.
Either go up or go down, but get away from this. So we'll never get home for Christmas.
Well, guys, I tell you, we could probably tell stories until the cows come home. I appreciate you getting over here to do this. This is great.
Enjoyed it.
Really fun.
Yeah, we got bed check. We have to get back.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's great to see you. Maybe we can do this again. I'm here at least Christmas and March every year, because my other granddaughter's birthday is the end of March. So I'll try to reach out and see if we do this again. Get Pete Whitman over here, and maybe get Wendell. That'd be fun.
Absolutely.
But you guys came a long way. You're in Arlington,
I'm
aren't you?
in Flower Mound right now.
Okay.
Well, you're not
That's
so
a pretty good drive.
Half an hour.
It takes me about 30 minutes. About 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I live right there by 18.
So this is remote isolated pay for you guys to help in?
It can be a 30-minute drive or an hour.
Yeah,
Depending on the
just
traffic.
depends on Central and
Oh yeah.
6:35.
I left something out of the Luang Prabang story. We fly up there, and it's a dirt road that divides the village in half. This is where Air America would go in and out of. A dirt road, and there's a tower, and they tell you they've got these big flags they'll put out if the townspeople are trying to cross the active runway to warn them. And if that doesn't work, they shoot the machine gun. Well, I already told you they took my M16 away. So we're landing, and I hear the machine gun go, that's it. We're done. We're done.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna hang out and put this stuff up. But gosh, so great to see you.
My best to Becky.
Nice to meet you. My best to your new one.
Well, thank you.
My best to your family.
So nice to meet you.
So good to see you.
Good to see you again. Yeah.
And I'll stay in touch.
Wrap this.
All right.
We got, thank goodness for Facebook, right? I mean, how would we ever get in touch otherwise? So we're going to stay here and clean all this up. So.
It's going to be interesting to see
Take
what
care
audio
now.
we get, because this
Happy
room
New Year
is
to you,
nothing
Steve.
more than an
Thanks for
anechoic
coming out.
chamber. That just reflects everything.
Well, all right. I'm out of here, too.
All right.
I enjoyed this.
Me too, buddy. So good to see you.
Yeah.
We've got to stop doing this till the next time.
Really.
God bless you,
Anytime.
brother.
Stay in contact.
I will.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can rattle some other chains and get some other guys out here.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find Ben.
Yeah.
Take it down there. I mean, I didn't even know he was in this area. I figured he'd gone back to Arkansas.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can send road guards out next time.
That's true.
I'd love to get Ron out here, but that'd be hard to do.
I don't even know how to get in touch with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last